Thanks, Lay. Thanks, Sir Russell. So, good morning, everyone. So, today, I would be presenting to you reimagining the hyper-converged experience from the traditional software-defined to being AI-driven. So, each and every one of us might be familiar with the concept of hyper-convergence, or some might be new to it. So, on a high level, I would like to introduce that concept to each and every one of you. So, hyperconvergence actually, the concept is all around us. A example of this is our smartphones. From the days of the past that we used to carry lots of different devices like a separate cell phone just for call and texting, a camera to take pictures, an iPod to listen to music. Now, all of these features and functionalities can be done by our smartphones and even more. And on top of that, our smartphone has easier user interfaces compared to having different consoles or different interfaces of each and every devices. So as I've said, that the concept of hyperconvergence is actually all around us, mainly in our smartphones. Compared to previously, we need to carry all of these different devices to do those functionalities. And that is actually what we aim to do, or what hyperconvergence aims to do for your data center. From the traditional setup of having multiple devices, multiple appliance, to having a simpler setup with a appliance building block to scale your data centers. Today's reality for every VM admin are these key challenges. Firstly, we have to deal with infrastructure complexity. So this requires us to have that multi-domain expertise, having a certain person only does storage admin, a person focusing on your server administration, backup administration, so on and so forth. So this leads to lots of wasted resources. Another thing is the constant firefighting that we have to face with the traditional infrastructure, where we have uncontrolled sprawls, where we keep on procuring equipment that we tend to not use efficiently. And from the business end of things, we are always at the pressure to lower costs. IT is always getting pressured by the business to lower down costs, requiring us to use our investment more efficiently and maximize it. And last but definitely not the least, we are also pressured by business to support not only the traditional applications of yesterday, but the modern applications of today. So that is why HP believes that AI, or artificial intelligence, is the key to day two and beyond. So from the yesteryears of being on the hardware confined model, where it is very complex, lots of different appliances, the process of managing it is very manual. You have to do everything manually. The process of supporting the infrastructure is very reactive. When something goes wrong, you tend to call your trusted partner, Phil Data, or you tend to call your trusted vendors like HPE to fix the problem. And lastly, it's wasteful. Since a traditional infrastructure, or the hardware confined infrastructure, usually requires one appliance to do one application, or one server is to one application, requiring us to have lots and lots of equipment, but not used efficiently. So then there came the software defined era. So this is where other hyperconverged offerings play, where the process is a little bit more automated. The experience is on demand, meaning when the business requires an application, you can easily create a virtual machine or so on. But then again, the support structure to that kind of model is still reactive. When something goes wrong, you call your vendor, you call your partners to try and resolve that issue. But it's a bit more efficient. Since virtualization came into play, we get to use our resources more efficiently. And now, where HPE is today and moving forward, is AI driven, where we imagine the autonomous data center, meaning all those lower level cases can be solved by the AI automatically, where it can self-heal in case of minor problems and low level problems, where it has predictive analytics where you can where we can predict when the AI can predict when the hardware is going to fail. So before it fails, the hardware already has said that your drives is showing wear and tear, you might want to replace it, or you might want to call support, or HPE would replace the drives for you, or so on. And self-optimizing, since the AI learns from all of our installed base, it optimizes itself, where it provides you with recommendations about best practices. It also provides you with key insights like capacity planning, utilization trends, and so on, that helps IT in their daily operations. So this AI driven is powered by our global intelligence, which is HPE InfoSight. So HPE InfoSight is our AI for the data center, and it is actually the most advanced AI for infrastructure, with having over 10 years of experience already. So it got already 10 years in collecting data, telemetry, hardware, health status from our global deployments. So basically, what if the solution that we have for you today can give you more time to innovate, allow your IT teams to further streamline businesses rather than just keeping the lights on, give you good ROI payback from the investment that you would shell out for the infrastructure, provide you cost savings not only on the capex procurement of the infrastructure, but also on operating it, your power, your cooling, or so on. Give you guaranteed performance with the available that you can recover a terabyte of VM in less than 60 seconds, and give you that one simple experience with intelligence to match. If that's the experience that you want to have for your data centers, well, the answer is HPE SimpliVity. So it's our intelligent HCI appliance for your business critical workloads, edge deployments if you have multiple branches, and yeah, as I've said, remote offices as well. So HP SimpliVity is intelligently simple, so providing you with that simple single pane of glass to manage not only your compute, storage, networking, but also the virtualization platform. It's a very efficient solution where it has data optimizations that we'll discuss later on. And it's edge optimized, meaning if you have multiple branches, you can deploy multiple SimpliVity appliance in those branches and have it managed centrally. Basically, what is that evolution that we came from? So you might all be familiar with this, what we call legacy stack, or the traditional infrastructure, where you have your switches, you have your server farms with virtualizations like VMware. You have your switches for your storage, whether it be SAN switches, your HA storage, and maybe you have data optimization appliance for the duplication, your backup appliance, maybe one optimization if you have multiple sites, SSD arrays for caching, and of course data protection applications for your operational backup and recovery. So other hyperconverged solution actually converge the top portion. They converge the server and the storage to an appliance, so that you can have a more simple experience. But what about everything beneath that? Your backup, the data optimization, data protection, and so on. This is what HPE includes with our hyperconverged infrastructure. So with HPE SimpliVity, we collapse that entire stack to a simple 2U building block, or 2U appliance for your data center, with built-in backup, recovery, resiliencies, as well as disaster recovery features. And we offer as well um, even the data optimization, like the duplication, compression, and so on, so that you have nothing to worry about in the infrastructure. So basically, HP SimpliVity provides that intelligently simple experience so that anyone can manage it, even IT generalists. It provides an all-in-one system. As I said, we collapse that entire stack, removing the silos, including your backup, resiliencies, and disaster recovery features. We also provide you with a global unified management, powered by VMware vCenter, so that you can manage everything in under a single pane of glass. And we also offer one-click upgrades. So we simplify the life cycle of the appliance with customer installable firmware upgrades and software upgrades. You get zero downtime refresh cycles, meaning you can flexibly upgrade your HA system non-disruptively. We have automated tuning as well. So the data optimization is always on, always at optimal performance. You don't need to toggle any switches to turn it on or off. Plus the global intelligence powered by HPE InfoSec to provide you with that predictive analytics and key insights for the IT team. So basically, as I said, it's an all-in-one system, meaning all of the ones from the legacy stack earlier is now converged in a 2U simple building block for your data center. So how do we fit this in, or how do we fit all of these appliances into that 2U building block? So the key technology is HPE's data virtualization platform. So this data virtualization platform is available across our SimpliVity product portfolio. So this data virtualization platform is the one that analyzes and optimizes data. So for example, you have 4 applications or for 4 virtual machines or so. When it writes a block of data, that data passes through the data virtualization platform when it's then analyzed. When it sees that it's a unique block of data, it gets compressed and written to disk. So every unique block of data gets compressed and gets written to disk. But what if it sees a duplicate block of data? So when a duplicate block of data passes to the data virtualization platform, it just puts a pointer to that block that is already written. So in a faster sense, your applications writes lots and lots of data in your daily applications or tasks. But what gets written to your drives or the persistent storage is just the unique block of data. So what is the advantage of having this kind of technology? So firstly, the capacity savings that it provides, the efficiency of the system. Later on, I'll go into what we guarantee as the efficiency of the system and how efficient our global deployments are. And with this efficiency, the advantage of this is we eliminate the unwanted IOs. We eliminate the backup IOs, the mirroring IOs, and so on, leading to the key technology of HP SimpliVity that we can back up a virtual machine, a terabyte of virtual machine in under a minute locally. We can also restore or clone that virtual machine in under a minute as well. And another advantage of this data virtualization platform is it spans across multiple sites. So effectively, if you have multiple sites scattered across the Philippines, since we're a group of island, and you want to transfer a virtual machine from your head office, for example, to your remote site, that data virtualization platform spans across all of your site, meaning the data gets optimized as well before being transferred. So this is very useful in the Philippine setting since bandwidth is quite expensive here in the Philippines and we want to optimize it as much as possible. So for example, you want to send this virtual machine or this workload from your main site to this secondary site. It analyzes first the blocks of data that composes that virtual machine. When it analyzes it, it only sends the unique blocks of data where it's already deduplicated and compressed. So in this case, it saw that the teal and yellow blocks are already available in your remote site. The only blocks that are not available is the purple and orange. So it just sends those blocks. So effectively minimizing the bandwidth hit on your current WAN link. So with that, after it transfers the block, you can you can already put up that virtual machine on the remote site. So up next, HP SimpliVity is a very efficient appliance. So across our global deployments, we're averaging nearly 50:1 data efficiency ratio, meaning 50 terabytes of 47 to be exact terabytes of logical data can be stored in 1 terabyte of HP SimpliVity. And even over that, a third of our customers is experiencing over 100:1. So beneath that's a banner of real world customer data efficiency ratios. So this is possible because of the always on deduplication and compression technology of HP SimpliVity. And this is all done in line, meaning when the data gets written by the application, it's already optimized. We don't need to write it first, then optimize it at a later time of day. So all of this leads to our guarantee that you can save 90% capacity across production and backup, meaning that's a 10:1 storage efficiency. So imagine the savings that you can get with this HP SimpliVity. Next, you also get global unified management. You get global VM-centric management and mobility, meaning your virtual machines can be managed through a single pane of glass. It can be moved across your SimpliVity clusters around the country, or um, even around continental levels if you have connections. We also have built-in resiliency, backup, and disaster recovery, meaning the node itself has built-in resiliency to tolerate that. We have backup already built in. So that's a major key difference that we have compared to our competitors out there. And the disaster recovery features as well. Plus the guaranteed data efficiency that I've said in the previous slide. So up next is you can manage this HCI appliance through VMware vCenter. So what the main advantage of this is that your team or you yourself don't need to have that big learning curve to use HP or to maximize HP SimpliVity. If you're familiar with your vCenter GUI right now, it's the same one. We're just a right-click functionality add-on or plug-in for you to use the SimpliVity features like doing the rapid cloning, the backups, and so on. So another advantage of this is the management is integrated with vCenter is that even provisioning data store can already be done through vCenter. No more secondary GUI, no more other management consoles that you need to worry about. So you get that enterprise capability without the complexity of having to manage multiple management systems. So up next, we simplify the experience of upgrading. So as I've said earlier, firmware upgrades and software upgrades are customer installable. So you can just download it and simply update your systems like what you do with your smartphones today. So we really simplify that experience to provide you with that non-disruptive upgrade to keep your devices always up to the current baseline. And up next with the global intelligence is, as I've said, we're shifting to that from the simple hyper-converged solution to that intelligent one. So what are the key features that you gain? Firstly, predictive resource planning. So this is very useful for the IT team since you get a prediction from when your capacity would run out in the next 90 days. So with the AI system, it shows you insights like at this amount of usage that you're currently doing, your capacity is going to run out in 15 days, in 30 days, in 75 days, or so on. So the advantage of this is it gives IT that insight. If you have new workloads coming in, whether you need to upgrade the system, you need to upgrade the capacity, or you need to buy more, you need to buy additional nodes, or you also get another type of insight like from that kind of predictive analytics or resource planning that, oh, I can turn off my dev first to cater to this new production application or so on. So this is a very useful insight. Next is global visibility. So if you have multi-sites, your virtual machines are all visible, their backups, their capacity savings. And you can also get to see if there's a top performing VMs, if you have noisy neighbor VMs. So that is all visible through the AI system or info site. And last but definitely not the least, the support case automation. So automated wellness alerts and signature detection for complex problems so that we can easily resolve if you encounter any problems during your during your operations. So SimpliVity, as I've said, is a hyper efficient technology. So we guarantee that data efficiency at 90% across your production and backup. We guarantee restore efficiency, that we can restore a local 1 terabyte of VM in less than 60 seconds. Not just restore, we can also clone or back up that VM in less than 60 seconds as well. And it's system efficient. Since it's an all-in-one system, you don't need to worry about having lots and lots of appliances in your data center. So up next, I'll discuss the resiliency of HPE SimpliVity. So we believe that you need at the heart of every customer or at the heart of every organization is their data. That is why we put in place multiple safeguard or multiple levels of resiliency to prevent data loss. So first is the file level resiliency. We offer file level restoration, so you don't need to put up the whole VM. Just restore the file for Windows. But most of our customers, since as I've said earlier, we can restore a VM in less than a minute, they just go for the VM restoration. So they restore the VM, get the file from there, and just delete it. Since we can restore that VM very efficiently and very quickly. We also offer node level resiliency. So we offer the hardware RAID for drives, so we can tolerate drive failures. We also have component level redundancy like redundant power supply and so on. We offer cluster level or the per VM RAIN or random redundant array of independent nodes. So meaning in a two-node setup of HPE SimpliVity, we are already highly available and can tolerate a node failure. And last but definitely not the least as well is the federation level. This is the multi-site DR plan. So if you have a secondary site for DR, we have that remote backup and recovery as well built in. So what is the difference on how we protect your data compared to how our competitors do? So this is an example of a 4-node hyper-converged cluster from other vendors. So usually they protect your data with what they call RAIN or redundant array of independent node, the cluster level protection. So this is good when you just fail one drive. What if you fail two drives on two separate nodes? This would result to data unavailability or even so data corruption. So another scenario is that one of your nodes is down, whether it be for maintenance or it's totally down. They can still tolerate one node, but what if the three surviving node, one drive fails? That would result to data unavailability or data corruption as well. So that is why with HPE SimpliVity, we protect your data not only with RAIN, but with also the traditional RAID that you've come accustomed to. So we have systems ranging from RAID 5 to RAID 6. So this is an example of a 4-node cluster of HPE SimpliVity on RAID 6. You can tolerate two drive failures or two storage drive failures each node. So imagine that on your 4-node cluster, you already failed 8 nodes. So eight drives. So imagine how unlucky that day is. But even though you failed 8 drives, you're still up and running. The business does not know or does not feel the failures happening. You can still run it on a very high performance. You can still clone very fast. You can still back up very quickly. No disruption whatsoever. And on top of that, what if one node totally fails or you want one node is down for maintenance? We can still tolerate that. So that's how resilient the solution is. So imagine you already have 8 drive failures and one node completely fails or your one is getting down for maintenance. You can still tolerate that failure. The VM will just redistribute to the surviving 3 nodes. Compared to our competitor, we also simplify infrastructure management. So usually our competitors, to provide you with a whole solution, they would need to bundle in third-party products for their operational backup and recovery, replication, and so on. So these products are like the Veeam, the what do you call this, recover point. They also might bundle in something like an SRM or a Zerto for multi-site replication. And for one optimization, they usually bundle in Silver Peak or Riverbed. So with HP SimpliVity, you get all those features and functionalities already built in. So the advantage of this is you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to worry, is my backup license enough to back up my new workload? Is my replication license expiring? Do I still have subscription to my one optimization? With HP SimpliVity, IT does not need to worry about it. Your backup is always there. The replication is always there. Disaster recovery features is always there. Meaning you don't need to worry about that on top of the infrastructure. Everything is already built in. So next is edge optimize. So meaning that if you have multiple site, you have a core site and multiple branches scattered around the nation, you can have high availability in 2 nodes. And note to that, HP SimpliVity is the only hyperconverged solution that can start with one node with enterprise resiliency. We can still tolerate drive failures. You can also have zero administration at the edge or at your branches. So meaning you can manage your branches in your core data center You don't need to have a dedicated personnel or the dedicated IT staff on the edge. And you can have that rapid multi-site failover. So meaning site 1 can back up to site 2 or the core office. So if site 1 experiences a failure or an outage, users can connect to your core office or your DR site as well. So next to that is we also enhance the built-in backup that SimpliVity already has. So if you have long-term archiving requirements, if you have government compliance that you need to follow 10-year retention of data, 5 years, so on, you want to stage that out of your production storage, we have integrated store ones to the SimpliVity portfolio. Meaning, when you purchase a store ones, this base backup appliance, you don't need to procure a third party backup license. You don't need a third party backup software to do that backup. It's already integrated into the VMware infrastructure that you have. Meaning the same way that you back up your SimpliVity is the same way you'll back it up to store once. So the advantage of this is it's a more cost-effective solution for long-term archiving, since it's a purpose-built backup appliance. And you can still have that SLA without compromise. So even if it's an archive VM, you can still restore it to the SimpliVity cluster, no problem. Top use cases of HPE SimpliVity here locally in the Philippines we see is firstly data center consolidation. So doing more with less. We've actually have customer coming in from 4 or 5 racks of equipment to down to 1 rack or even half a rack of HPE SimpliVity. So this is actually very good from the one for the bundles being gonna be presented later and gonna be presented by the next speaker, that you can have that smart data center rack in an office and have just 2 nodes of SimpliVity there. You don't need to worry about a whole data center. You don't need to worry about um, the major construction that the data center entails. And next use case is that edge or branches use case. Since we are a scattered group of islands, lots of SimpliVity customers put a branch in per region or so on. So next use case is a very hot topic this pandemic, since most of us are working from home. VDI has fast become a hot topic. So HP SimpliVity actually is one of the best platforms to run VDI on. We are ranked as one of the top performing appliances for VDI as well. Mixed workloads, meaning your business critical to general purpose workloads, data protection as well, since we have all of those built-in features and functionalities, and test and dev. So meaning we can clone very quickly, we can spin up VMs very quickly so that your test and dev team can put the patches on and promote it to production easily. So here's just some of the variety of workloads that run on HP SimpliVity. Databases is one, industry-specific applications, VDI Exchange, even SAP HANA. So we are certified to run SAP HANA as well. So here's some of the banner customer that HP SimpliVity has. So if any of you guys are fans of F1, actually HPE sponsors 2 teams in F1, Mercedes AMG and Red Bull Racing. So Red Bull Racing uses HP SimpliVity for their trackside analytics. So since using HP SimpliVity, they gone from 9 minutes in analyzing the data down to 2 minutes. So imagine that insights given to the racing or to the driver, because in F1 every second counts. So from 9 minutes to having that 2 minutes to analyze that track record, give the drivers that insight or corrective feedback, really helps them in their races. So another one is Altera Mountain Company. So they have a multi-site deployments, 28 sites, with up to 7 racks, down to 1 rack of HP SimpliVity. So they achieve 112 times savings for their VM and backup across thousands of VMs that they have. So here in my next slide, I won't dive into details. So HPE believes that there's no silver bullet for all of your problems. So that is why in the SimpliVity product portfolio itself, we have multiple products across the range. So we have our flagship 380s. We have hybrid nodes available for general purpose as well as backup and archiving. We have AMD powered nodes for your branches and smaller SMB deployments. And we have a chassis based 2600 for your colocation. If you have limited space availability, this is the one. So to sum it all up, HP SimpliVity is a fully integrated HCI built on the world's most secure industry standard servers. So meaning you get that unique security with the silicon root of trust that protects you from firmware level threats. So hackers are now being more wise and attacking the firmware level, not just your network or OS level. That continuously scans your firmware and run at runtime for malware. Next is we are tested and proven by independent verificators and ranked 2 generations ahead of any of our competitors in terms of security. And we're also the leading vendor in terms of compliance. So if your company needs compliance certifications and so on, HP is the leading for that with NIST 800 controls and CNSA, the Pentagon level security for the highest and most comprehensive guidelines. So basically, SimpliVity, it's an intelligently simple HCI to power all to accelerate your applications and service delivery that can back up, recover your 1 terabyte of VM in less than 60 seconds. It's very efficient with the 10x guaranteed capacity savings, and it's optimized even across multi-site deployments. So why do you need hyperconvergence and why shift to it now? So firstly, we want to accelerate your app performance, give you better speed to market or time to market for your applications. We want to provide that simple platform for all your virtualized workloads. We want to enable you with that multi-cloud experience with having those policy-based automation, visibility, and integrations. We, we also want you to optimize the resources available to you or the investment, lower down your costs, not only from procuring IT, but operating it as well. And we believe in more innovation and less administration, meaning with the ease of management and policy-based system that HPE SimpliVity delivers, IT can focus more on streamlining business or streamlining operations rather than just keeping the lights on. So this is my second to the last slide. So basically, HPE SimpliVity is the only appliance that provides guarantees to our customers. So we have this 5 guarantees. One is it's going to be hyper efficient, meaning you can save 90% of capacity across storage and backup combined. So that is the 10:1 guaranteed capacity savings. We are hyper protected that under a minute you can complete a local backup or local restore of a terabyte of VM. In my experience, it just takes a few seconds, hindi pa aabot ng near a minute. It's hyper simple. 3 clicks to do your backup restoration, moving of VMs or cloning your VMs under a single pane of glass or a single console. And it's hyper manageable under a minute to create or update your policies for thousands of VMs across dozens of sites. And it's going to be hyper available. That for an HA system of HP SimpliVity, there's no downtime for upgrades if you need to add nodes or upgrade the nodes. With that, thank you, and I'll be available in the chat if you in case you have any questions, and if in case you're interested, feel free to contact me or contact Field Data as well. With that, I'd like to pass it back to Lei.
So, hello, good morning, everyone. So, to those who don't know me yet, I'm Lance Jimenez. I'm the product application engineer from Schneider or APC. So, today I'll be discussing more on the edge applications, the UPSs intended for the edge, and at the same time, the bundling that we will provide with HPE SimpliVity. In terms of the offers of Schneider Electric, in this case, we are moving towards a more edge application wherein we want our customers to have their um, to have their information readily available. So it's not cloud based, but it's on the literal on the edge. So yung mga data centers na who are provided locally, these are the these are the segments that we want to focus on and capitalize on with these applications. Okay. So in terms of the history of the of edge or converge or hyper converge solution. So it started out in 1950s. So in 1950s, we started as a more of a centralized, more of centralized na solution. So it has a mainframe computing, and all of our data are coming from this centralized system. Come the mid 1970s, so there was a trend of going decentralized. So we are not just focusing or relying on one server, but we are relying on the internet, kumbaga, and we access this and get our needed information to our devices. However, in the 1990s, so around 1990s, there was this trend naman of going centralized ulit. So in centralization, we developed this cloud computation. So in this case, we are focusing on just this cloud na andito lahat ng information natin, mas mabilis daw siya, and mas makakapagbigay ng information sa devices natin. However, in the 2000s naman, in a more modern approach, we are again focusing on decentralization. So with decentralization, we saw there are some problems, or there are some kumbaga, weaknesses of using cloud computing. So with this said, having a more decentralized or a more edge type application is more suitable, especially now that we are moving to a more digitized world. So with that being said, so with edge computing, it brings the customers or the people closer to their data as much as possible. So the key differentiator with edge and cloud is that yes, edge is still somehow like a cloud system, but it's not a centralized cloud na andun lahat ng information. Let's say kung nasa Pilipinas tayo, ang main cloud is nasa America. So no. So if the that American company has their data centers installed in the Philippines or in the different provinces of the Philippines, then that is considered edge, and you can get your information readily and faster. So these are applicable, especially now with the trend of online shopping, of online transactions. These are very critical and very important, especially we're moving to June. It's on the typhoon season. So as much as possible, we want to be connected as much as possible, even during those challenges in terms of power supply. So these are the trends that help decentralize or pushed us to the edge, literally. So with edge solutions, like I said, there are some problems with cloud computing. So with cloud computing, there are some latency or some dependency with that centralized cloud, and we have some delays in terms of getting our information. In addition, considering that we are moving to a more digitized world, Internet of Things. So we want to transact, we want to do business quicker. Especially it's literally in the palm of our hand with our smartphones and our tablets. So with edge solutions, it will make us faster and more reliable in this case. And then lastly, with efficiency and accuracy. So with cloud, there are some there's lesser efficiency, like I said, because of the distance, as well as the dependency in bandwidth. So because of edge, you don't need a very large bandwidth. At the same time, it's readily available. Then you have a more accurate and a more efficient data provided to you. Okay. So with Edge, so there are some limitations. So especially now that we are relying on emails and those electronic ways of communication, then cloud computation is really not designed for that high speed or very speed sensitive applications. So to delve more into the limitations, number one, in terms of bandwidth. So, like I said, if we are here in the Philippines and the transaction is with an American company, it takes time. It takes time for it to go to that hub, and for that to get to that, to get to that cloud, you will need a certain bandwidth to transport or send that data. So now considering that with our data na with Globe and our data plans and everything, it will consume much bandwidth, and possibly it would take a longer time, which leads to my second point, the latency, because you need a high bandwidth and it's going to a different place, a different country. It will provide that latency. So as much as possible, we want to prevent this. And there are some regulations as well with cloud computing. So because it's dependent on the cloud, it can also be prone to some hackers, and they can get your information or your data. So these are the three, these are the three limitations of cloud. Hence why we want to move to edge solutions. And now with edge, so if you can imagine, for example, you use your phone to get your, use your phone for a transaction. It goes to an edge data center. Goes to an edge data center. So imagine, for example, you are transacting with BPI, and you are transferring money to your friend. And if you are using a cloud solution, that transaction, perhaps maybe in the past 10 to 15 years ago, there was no edge. We will have around 20 to 30 seconds of delay because of the because we are dependent on the cloud. However, considering that BPI or the banks are now having many data centers deployed here in the Philippines, wherever you are, be in a Mindanao province or a Visayas province, and you are transacting with your friend from Manila or NCR or wherever in Luzon, it will take faster considering you have those edge solutions in your specific province. So that's the advantage. So kesa na ikaw, you're waiting na mag-send ka ng money to your friend na it will take 20 to 30 seconds. Ngayon, send mo lang kaagad. Screenshot of pre, ito na yun, nakuha mo na yung money. That's it. That's how convenient, that's how fast it is when using the edge solutions. So nagka-problem lang ako sa slide kanina, but yeah. So this is the importance of the edge. So yeah, so in terms of the your phone to your the local data center to that gateway, and then to that main hub. So it's faster, di ba? Dito ka lang sa you're just here in the to this level. So it makes the performance even faster, and puts the more critical computing and storage assets closer to your to the people. So in terms of Internet of Things, so like I said, the Internet of Things is a means of you being more connected to your devices wherever you are. So perfect example are the phones, the tablets, everything. And because of this, using the edge, it gives you a more enhanced customer experience. Also, it improves the data security. So your solution or your transaction is just from here to here. So for example, if without the edge, you are going from here all the way up to here. Some uh, if it was a cloud solution, some hackers may probably hack it and get information, as I said earlier. So having a shorter route can improve your data security. And then lastly, it optimizes the operating model. So like I said, it's more faster. At the same time, you have a more smoother experience with those transactions. Okay. So to help the edge, to help power the edge. So as much as possible, these edge solutions or these edge data centers, if you will, they cannot, kumbaga, even it's not kumbaga, it does not live in a perfect world, in the sense that it will be prone to power outages or blackouts or brownouts or whatever. And to help combat those phenomenon, we need to be prepared and equip these data centers with a UPS. So the UPS, so just to properly introduce the UPS, like I said, in our expectation, in the real life situation, we expect that power will be available anywhere, anytime, at a consistent rate, acceptable voltage, current, and frequency. So kung may mga engineer dito, imagine nyo, it's always a sine wave, kumbaga, a perfect sine wave. Pero in reality, Hindi siya ganun. Hindi ganun yung ano natin. Hindi ganun yung power natin. It's not this pure sine wave that we see. And this is because there are always, there are always inconsistencies, and there are numerous external factors contributing to it, like that of the weather, or even man-made, man-made errors. Kumbaga, even if a person, simple lang, a person na nasagasaan na yung isang telephone pole or isang electric pole, it will cause power outages. So we do not live in a utopia. We don't live in a perfect world. It's prone to errors, and it's prone to some inconsistencies. And because of this, we want to be prepared as much as possible. So imagine it's a blackout, right? So ikaw, you're working, you're doing important and rushed work. And then bigla nag-blackout. So yung desktop nyo, mag-off siya. And then ikaw, you'll be there left wondering, but hindi ko sinave, but hindi ko inagapan whatsoever. So because of that, yeah, so because of that possible phenomenon, imagine you equipping your system with a UPS. Then if a blackout happens, continue yung work. You'll still be productive. You'll still have the connection to your routers and to the network. Hence, you can still send those emails. You can still communicate with your customers. And at the same time, kumbaga, you feel comfortable. So yun yung pinaka-importante when using the UPS. So in terms of APC, so when you have a UPS, then you are promised hardware protection, number one. So for those lightning, or for those or those man-made na errors, like I said, makabangga lang ng electrical pole. So those will provide surges to your system. And with the UPS, you have that internal surge protection. So rest assured that equipment plugged into the UPS, they will not be damaged. In addition, because you have data protection, it ensures that your data is always safe. Your UPS as well, it will have that high efficiency. In this case, if you have high efficiency, then you can save in terms of your energy consumption. And then lastly, again, like I said, we are moving to a more digitized world. So you can monitor and see the performance of your UPS wherever you are, as long as you're just connected to the PowerShell software, or be it a IP address. So it gives you that needed protection and that needed availability with your unit. Okay. So for UPS, that's the basic function lang. So it gives you that surge protection, as I said, and it gives you that clean power. Clean power, as in it filters the kumbaga, the wasted power, and it gives you the more efficient power to your system. And then lastly, it gives you that battery backup. So key thing that we need to remember when using the UPS is that it is not okay. It's not a unit that you can use for around 4 hours, 8 hours, 24 hours. No, it's a power supply. It's an uninterruptible power supply. However, it's just a unit that we use for what we call graceful shutdown. So with graceful shutdown, like I said, kung may brownout, kung may blackout, uh, yung mga blackouts na yan, it will give you let's say around more than 30 minutes na blackout. This UPS, it will give you that needed 5 to 10 minutes for you to properly save and close your work. At the same time, literally, graceful shutdown, ma-off mo nang maayos yung mga devices mo para hindi sila masira. So that's what we need to remember. At the same time, hindi po tayo nagbebenta ng generator. So yung mga ganun na katagal na 4 hours, 8 hours, 24 hours, these are more on the generator side na. UPS is more of a graceful shutdown. Okay. So for the bundling with HPE, we bundle our racks at the same time with smart UPS with HPE SimpliVity. So our UPS bundled with HPE is more on the 1 kVA, 3 kVA, and 6 kVA. And just for reference, we have different types of UPSs for the SRV. So the SRV, this is a product line that we bundled with with the racks again with the HPE, and it's available in standard rack mount or long model. So the long model is more on the kapag gusto ni customer na mas patagal na runtime, then we can add more battery packs. However, in this case, we are using the rack mountable solution because it's an all-in-one solution with bundling. Okay. So for the key features lang of the SRV ECUPS. So it also has the green operating mode. So the eco mode or green mode is the feature wherein if it's already on the efficient side, then it will kumbaga it will kumbaga it will be on a state of equilibrium. So yun na yung niya, hindi na siya, it will not overperform to meet the needed efficiency. So you can save in terms of your utility costs. It's also generator compatible. And then so take note of this. So for power factor, for 1 to 3 kVA, it will have our power factor of 0.8. But for 6 and 10 kVA, it will have a power factor of 1. Meaning, if you have 10 kVA, you can use 10 kilowatts. If you have 6 kVA, you can use 6 kilowatts. It's also robust in terms of design. So it has that conformal coating. So it can be applicable for yung mga manufacturing areas or yung mga kumbaga hindi mission critical or controlled areas. And it also has that battery management. So with battery management, you can maximize the performance of your battery. Okay, and then in terms of efficiency, you can have up to 94%. And if you are in battery mode or if you are using if there's a blackout in battery mode, then it will only have a 91% efficiency, which is quite high in the market. Okay, so that's the UPS. Now for racks. So for racks, what I want to highlight lang is that we just have a wide range in terms of our racks. And for racks, so we have the net shelter. So the net shelter is the actual unit that provide the racks itself. So we have the SX, this SV, CX, and then net the power distribution. So these are the PDUs or the devices that help distribute the power within the rack. Accessories like that of the mounting, the hardware, the server access like that of the LCDs, the KVM switches, and we also have the netbots or those EMS or environmental monitoring solutions. And then we have the containment system. So the containment system is just a way to help improve the airflow within the data center to help prevent those air mixing problems that may occur. Okay. For net shelter, so the gist of this slide is just telling you that we have different rack heights, rack widths, and rack depths. For height, we have 24U, we have 6U, 18U, for sorry, 6, 12, 18, 24, 42, 45, and 48. So all are divisible of just 6 or 3U. So take note of that lang. And then width, we have 600, 750, and then depth, we have around 1070 or 1200 mm. So very flexible siya in terms of the application, be it a network or server application. We have that rack system that can comply or give the customer kumbaga the best solution. Okay. So these are just for show. These are the different rack heights. So four of the different rack heights. So like I said, it's divisible of 6 or 3. So it's 6U, 12U, 24U, 42U. We also have 45 and 48U. 48U being the highest. And then we also have the different widths, 600, 750, and 1070 or 1200 na depth. So in terms of the differentiators, so we have those cable access roof. So for cable access roof, we have different kumbaga different holes para mapasok yung mga cables. Baying bracket, so these are the brackets that we use if we want to put the racks in beside together para hindi sila gumalaw. Pre-leveled installing feet, so for the mobility of the unit. Also, one of the key selling points of the net shelter is that it's toolless. It's toolless. And we also have different mounting rails that we can use for cable management. And key important thing, we also have half height side panels.
So if you have if you want to make any modification within the rack, then you can easily access it on the side as it is removable. Okay. So in terms of accessories, so we have different accessories like that of the cable management, the airflow management. So we have the blocking panels para hindi pumasok yung hangin within the server rack. We also have the cable management, overhead cable management, stabilization for those earthquake proof na areas. At the same time, we also have shelving. So these are the shelves that wherein we put the devices or the servers or UPS sakali. So key points that are the key selling points kumbaga. The key selling points of the APC racks is literally APC as well. So we have the airflow. So with blocking panels, it helps prevent air mixing within your rack. We also have power distribution. So with power distribution, it will help manage your energy consumption for your server rack. And at the same time, cable management. So with cable management, kita nyo pa lang dito sa taas, we have many different cable entries. So mas marami kang pwede mapasok sa cables. And we also have many different mounting rails or cable organizers to help make your rack even more clean looking aesthetically. So APC lang, APC yung pala tandaan. Airflow, power distribution, and cable management. So this is the last portion of my slide. So this is the bundling of HPE and Schneider Electric in terms of the APC side. So we will be providing a 6U rack and a 1.5 kVA UPS. For another bundle, we have the 12U rack, a 3 kVA UPS, as well as the 16 amp power module, a basic one. So wala po siyang kumbaga display dito. So it's just a basic PDU. And then we also have the 18U rack and the 6 kVA UPS. And we also have a 16 amp switched PDU. So if it's a switched PDU, then it just means that we can control or see the performance of each outlet for proper or better maintenance. So yun lang. So we have 6U plus 1.5, 12U plus 3, 18U plus 6 kVA. So actually, this is my last slide. So thank you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat, and I will address them. And
Congratulations to all the winners. I hope nag-enjoy kayo sa virtual event na to. And I hope na reimagine ninyo ang hyper-converged solution of HPE with APC bundle. So if you're planning or if you're planning or looking for simplifying your data center or consolidating your data center, we also have business continuity solutions and VDI solutions. Feel free to tap any Phil Data account executives or any one of us. We would be more than happy to assist you with your inquiry. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope that you're all safe and healthy at the comfort of your homes and or your office.
And thank you for joining, everyone. If you have additional questions or inquiries, you can either reach us directly through our email, sales@phildata, or to your account managers. For more information and updates, you can follow our social media accounts on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Our social media handles are OnePhilData. Once again, thank you, everyone, and thank you to our partners from HPE, VSTECS, and APC by Schneider. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. This is the end of our program.